Hey everyone, we're excited to have Dr. Mart McClellan with us on the show. Dr. McClellan is president of Macro Wealth Management, a registered investment advisor, and the only firm in America with a focus in the dental profession. Mart is a charter member of the Forbes Speakers Group. He co-authored the #1 Amazon bestseller by Advantage Media, Forbes book, Your Retirement Smile, the treatment plan for pay cut prevention in your golden years. Mart graduated from Northwestern University Dental School and the University of Michigan for his master's degree in orthodontics. Welcome to the show, Mart.
Thank you so much, Richie. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So first, before we start, where did Mart come from? Is that your full name? Is that what's on your birth certificate?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It is Mart. It's not Martin or Marty.
Yeah.
99% of the people who meet me for the first time will call me Mark. So I tell them, just remember Walmart, and they won't forget my name, hopefully.
Oh yeah, Walmart makes it easy. It's Walmart.
Absolutely. Piece of cake.
So just tell us a little bit about your background. You went from a dental profession to financial advisor. How did that work out? How did that happen?
Yeah, never in a million years did I ever expect to be in the financial advisory world. After graduating from my residency program at Michigan, I went out and became an associate and then partner. And sort of just went through the normal channels of traditional financial advisors, and didn't really feel like I was getting along all that well, but thought I was doing things fine. But then one of my dental school classmates gave me a ring in my practice one day and said, "Hey, you may want to sit down and meet with this guy, this financial guy. He's changed my life." I'm like, "Okay." Anytime I get a warm referral from a friend, I'll be more than happy to listen. And so that was 20 plus years ago when I met Tim Stride, now my partner, and he was my and my wife's and kids' financial advisor for 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And after the .com crash and the 9/11 event, the model that we'll be sharing with you in a couple moments was doing just really well, sort of as he planned. And so I found that to be very unusual and fantastic at the same time. And so I approached Tim and said, "Hey, Tim, I know a lot of my friends and colleagues in the dental world and orthodontic world are, having troubles here with the market and losing some money. And, would you have an interest in me getting my advisory licenses and the necessary things to do to partner up with you and create a company to help my friends and colleagues with the process that I lived for 7 years?" And so in 2004, we started Macro Wealth Management, and we've been in the advisory business there for 16 years now.
So it was really born from this downturn, this adversity, and you saw an opportunity and you're interested. That's a good way to
so many times, things rise to the top when there's a crisis, right? So whether it's the 87 crash or the .com crash or the 2008 crash or even the crisis now, coronavirus issues, when things perform, people tend to gravitate towards those things that work, and it gives them a wonderful peace of mind that if another crisis occurs in the future, which we know it will, that they're going to be much better off by having a sound financial model.
Yeah, so this model survived those downturns, and so it works. That makes sense.
Yeah, I've lived it. It's just not something I'm trying to say, hey, you got to look at this. Everything that Tim and I do, we do ourselves, and so it's we're in the same boat as everybody else, and it gives a lot of people reassurance that we're on the same team as them.
Yeah, I've read a few financial books, and a lot of them say, does the person do what they're actually preaching?
Yeah.
Because a lot of advisors aren't. They didn't make their money the way a lot of people's teaching how to make money. They made their money by selling the book about making money. They didn't make money.
No, right. You're 100% right. Yeah.
So you're still practicing orthodontist now?
Yeah, so I still practice and I still love it. I think orthodontists in this call can say that this is a blessed profession. It's a wonderful thing we do for our patients, and I really do enjoy it. It's just that I've found two passions, and trying to find the time for both is kind of a juggling act at times. But my partner Tim, he's been a full-time advisor for over 30 years now. So he's a trained accountant. So he's in the trenches on the financial side on a daily basis, and I split time. And the beauty of this technology that we're experiencing today is that we can meet with clients all over the country. We have clients in over 30 states now. So the technology allows us to be with many people, and whether it's on some of my days off or in the evenings. We do evening webinars as well. Anything that fits into one of our clients working on a schedule.
Yeah, I think a lot of businesses are realizing that. Even my Tai Chi teacher is doing a lot of his classes online, and they're realizing, wait a minute, my audience is actually national, sometimes international. That's going to really, I think, make a big difference for the economy later on when people start adopting these what were newfangled technologies now.
Oh yeah, I think this technology in this office is going to change a lot of business models in the future.
So, how does someone know when it's time to hire a financial advisor? What's the role of one financial advisor?
Yeah, really the time to get one is really as soon as possible, because there's so much misinformation that is presented in the traditional financial circles, and the only way to sort of figure out, how do we, figure out is this good information or bad information is to, find a trusted advisor that can sort of handhold you through the process. Because we have to understand that this process is created by a couple things people call the rules makers, and it's called the junk drawer. And the rules makers are the government, and the other ones are the financial institutions as well as corporations. Those entities, they're important for capitalism, but they're also, they tell us to do exactly the opposite of what they're doing with their money. And so we need to make sure that we sort of put on a different hat and look through a different mindset and start doing what they're doing, because they want our money, right? They want our money through taxes. They want us to buy stuff through corporations. They want us to invest in things through financial institutions. And then, they want to hold on to our money and their entities because they use our money multiple times over the course of a year or career, and they velocitize that money and get multiple rates of return out of it. And then they give us as little as possible on the back end, just little bits and pieces, because they can hold on to money even longer. And so we need to start thinking like they do and sort of do what they do and not do what they tell us to do, because they're accelerating their money and we're accumulating our money.
Yes.
So, there's a big difference between the two. It's like when you have the math signs, 3 and 3, well, 3 plus 3 equals 6. But if you change the math sign to a multiplication sign, 3 times 3, acceleration is 9. So you have the same inputs, but you have much greater output. And that's sort of what the rules makers do, but that's not what they tell us to do. And then by doing that, they create something that each and every person on this call will have. All Americans have it. It's called the financial junk drawer. We all may have a kitchen junk drawer. I've got a kitchen junk drawer. I've got a couple kitchen junk drawers, actually. Right. And the funny thing about those things is, right, we know what's in the kitchen junk drawer, and our financial junk drawer is the same. We may have insurance products in there, car insurance, homeowners, disability, life insurance, estate planning documents, savings accounts, checking accounts, retirement plans, bonds, stocks, real estate, your business. It's all, we have them all. There's no magic product out there, but the problem is it's all in this junk drawer of unorganization. It's not coordinated. It's not integrated in any particular way, and so that creates just a lot of inefficiency. And so we say, well, if we can clean up that inefficient junk drawer and make it a well-functioning machine, such as a car, where you have you take your car into the shop and it gets you get a tune-up with an oil change and new plugs and new air filter and stuff. Well, when you get the same car back, well, you just have greater gas performance, better output from an engine standpoint. So you just want to make it more efficient and just make it clean it up. But the only way to do that is to have a financial process in place. And the financial process really encompasses 3 pieces, essential pieces. You just can't have one. One's called our model or simulator, and/or simulator. 2 is called the rules. For every set of models you have or games you play, you have to have a set of rules. These are economic rules that we follow. And then you have to have a macro manager, and that's the role that Tim and I play as an advisor, as the macro manager.
That makes sense. So what is your opinion of what's going on with the economy right now? What is your perspective of what's going on?
Yeah, so the economy today is, there's a lot of fears and trepidations based on where we are today with good reason. This is unprecedented times, right? We've had the fastest bear market crash in history. We've got the most unemployed people in history. So these are wild and crazy times and unusual. But the good news is, and I think it's really good news actually, is that the underlying economy coming into this crisis was solid. We were on very good footing, some of the best footing we've been on in a while. And so I do believe there'll be some type of a V-shaped curve when we actually
will recover very quickly when you say that.
Recover very quickly. We've gone down very quickly, and I really do believe we're going to bounce out of this very, very, very rapidly. I think too, it's one of those things where, people want to get back to work. Spouses are already making jokes about, ready to kill each other. So
it's all over social media. People.
There's jokes. There's jokes galore on that. Yeah. And so I think the faster we can get back to work. American people are wired to work, and I think this economy will really come back roaring.
So we're really in a better position than, say, a lot of other countries, especially maybe over in Europe, because their economies weren't doing well when this all started. Now this is just kind of pushing them down even further.
Yeah, that's going to be a problem for them, and I think they've got a lot of issues to figure out over there, but we're also dependent upon them for our economies too. We export a lot of stuff, we build a lot of stuff for them, and so forth and so on. But I think in this particular case, we sort of have to take care of our own country at this stage of the game.
Absolutely, everyone is on the same playing field there. Yeah. So, what kind of steps would you say that you should take prior to a crisis like the one we're experiencing?
Well, that's sort of where the beauty of the model that we use in the rules, because what happens is when you have things positioned in the appropriate manner, you're really able to weather this storm, which I'll talk about in a couple of moments, during the crisis. And even during the crisis, you can sometimes take advantage of opportunities that come across the table. So there's really two pieces of the puzzle. Those who don't have a lot of cash flow in hand, and they're sort of trying to, do the loans and, get the forgiveness, which they should do, and manage their cash flow on a daily basis as best possible. Then the other end of the coin, people have a lot of money on the sidelines and cash accounts, and they may be looking to maybe make some investments. So that when they come out of it, what will happen is what you'll find is that those who were not saving all that much money are going to probably become good savers. They don't want to have to experience that again.
Right.
Yeah. And then the ones who were fortunate to have cash available, then they're going to probably find their investments doing very well after this.
That makes sense. Well, then let's take a look at the model you're talking about. I know you have some visuals you can share with us.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is our financial model. Every financial decision that you or I or anybody can make will fall somewhere on this model. Mm-hmm. It's broken down into 5 components, the top being the protection component. That's more or less where the insurance products and the estate planning documents reside. The middle component is the savings component. That's where our safe money resides, and the bottom is the growth component where our risk money lives. And then the other 2 components are our cash flow and our debt. This is the beautiful game board that we call it, and it's set up in a hierarchy. It's very organized in a very specific way. And how that works is that in each of these components, the upper left-hand box, like the vehicle insurance, is the weakest box. Even though it's important, it's not the strongest box. And you move down to the lower right box, the life insurance, that's the most powerful box in the protection component.
Gotcha.
The thing about the protection component is that there's no wealth belt in the protection component. It's just sort of the moat around the castle, and it enables you to build financial plans that can work under all circumstances. And as you move down into the savings component, obviously a checking account is not a very powerful box. It's important because we want liquidity. But as we move down to the lower right-hand box, that's the tax-deductible drawer. That's the 401k simple IRA box. Obviously, a very powerful drawer for wealth building.
Yeah.
And as we move further down into the components, this upper left one, bonds, is the weakest, and then the lower right is your practice, your dental practice, business and tax shelters. It's the most powerful box in the growth component. It's the most powerful box in the entire model, and it's really the driver. Your dental orthodontic practice is the driver of everything you do financially. It brings the income into the model, and so that is it's the riskiest, but it's also it's the critical piece of the model. And then, of course, cash flow and debt. In this day of the coronavirus, cash flow is key. I mean, it's king. Those who have cash flow can weather the storm and get through these tough times. Those who don't are struggling a little bit more. Then, of course, debt. Debt is a critical piece of wealth building. There's a lot of misinformation about how to pay off debt. We don't want to pay off debt at the expense of your wealth. What I mean by that is that there are good ways and bad ways to pay off debt. And if you pay it off the incorrect way, you may be worse off in the future for that. And so
never use it to never pay it at the expense of wealth. That's not something I've heard before. Okay.
Yeah. And we actually devoted a whole chapter of our book on that's one of the myths of wealth building. One of our chapters is on debunking financial myths because there's a lot of, as I mentioned at the beginning, quite a bit of misinformation out there.
That makes sense.
And but this is like we call it treatment plans, the treatment plan for financial success. In your practice, when a patient comes in and you do an exam and do what you get to do the records and put the braces on and do the adjustments, you get a very, very good, beautiful smile, well-functioning smile at the end. The same thing goes with your financial life. You should have a beautiful financial a model so that if you follow the rules and go through the steps necessary, at the end point, you'll become very, very efficient and your output will be much greater and your end game will be much sooner. And so that's the premise behind having a game board to measure your financial decisions off of. Most people don't know from a financial standpoint. Most dentists and orthodontists don't know or are unaware because most advisors never talk about it. But when the dentist gets to retirement age, the average dentist and orthodontist included will take about a 50% pay cut in retirement.
Wow.
And
50%. Yeah.
50%. And what we see typically is when we meet clients for the first time, those numbers range between 40 and 60. It's not much different than that. So that study was pretty spot on. And so the objective, though, is that if you are organized and you do have a model and rules that when you get to retirement, you'll have full income replacement. So you don't take a pay cut. You're fully juiced and it's inflation protected, and there's actually some built-in guarantees so you can never run out of money. But
that's huge. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and it's interesting, Richie. When we've been sharing this model for obviously a long time, for about 15 years, and it's been around for a long, long time. But people say you got to write a book, and that's why we went out and wrote our book on this because nobody's really sharing the message of how do you get income in retirement. Like everybody likes talking about investing and accumulating wealth, but they don't really talk about.
Yeah, it's the fun part. That's a fun subject.
That's the fun. That's the sexy stuff, right? That's the sexy stuff where people get themselves in trouble. And that's why even in this model, how it's broken down, you can see the growth is at the bottom. The growth, the word safety is gone. It's replaced by the word potential. Yet what everybody wants to talk about. They want to talk about their investments and such, and how they are important. But when it's a combination of everything, because when we get to retirement, you want to have multiple streams of income. You want to have 6, 7, 8, 9 different income streams in retirement. So if the market crashes like it has, or real estate goes down, or your business is not doing as well, you have other outlets to sort of pull money from, so that
in retirement you want 6 to 7. Wow, I've never heard that before. Yeah. I've heard that's the average number of income streams a millionaire has. I've never heard of
No, that's true. You're exactly right. Average millionaires are 7, 8 different income streams. Exactly right. This model throws off 9 or 10 income streams just by following the rules of it. So it's embedded. Different income streams are embedded into the model itself.
Yeah. So this is the opposite of the junk drawer right here. Organizing.
This is way off of the junk drawer. And the cool thing about it too, it's not really a static entity either. Although everything in your financial life fits on this model, it is also a simulator. My son's a pilot, and people know about flight simulators. And when they get in the cockpit of the airplane, they stress test the plane. They drop an engine off, they blow out a tire, wind shear, all these different things within the simulator. So the pilot is aware and understands of how to manage those situations. So if they were to happen in the real plane, all the passengers survive. Well, this model has a simulator built with it. So you can simulate your present age, and you can simulate to age, if you're 45, you can simulate to age 55, 60. You can make the market crash. You can make the tax rates go through the roof. You can make
Oh,
inflation.
really?
You can change all these different variables
That's interesting.
to test, like, what is the most efficient way to measure my money? Because what happens is most people, when they make money, they have money flowing into the junk drawer in the wrong place at the wrong time. So without a program to actually measure the flows of money, how do you know what's going to give you the most output? And so we always say it's like when you take your car in for a tune-up, right? It's they change the plugs, change the filter, get an oil change. Well, when you get the car back, it's the same car. You're just getting better horsepower, better gas mileage, and so forth and so on.
Yeah.
And the same thing goes with your efficiency model. You really don't need to add more. You just take what you have and just make it much more efficient and just make it more organized.
Yeah, we all could do that, and this is a great time to look at things like that up.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
at home, you have all this stuff available to you.
Yeah, and then if you want, I can share some of the rules too. If you want me to share some of those rules.
Yeah, let's do that. I was going to say, let's look at the rules.
That's probably the next step. And so the rules are a critical aspect of it, because without rules, you base a lot of your financial decisions on opinion. And so we don't have time to go through all the rules, but we'll go through the main ones because these main ones really deal with this coronavirus situation today. And quite frankly, if the majority of Americans and orthodontists were to do just these first three rules, they would be significantly ahead of most people. The first rule being, we want maximum protection in the protection component. That protection component is this upper purple area, although I think it's purple. I'm a little colorblind. I think that's purple.
Yeah, it's purple.
Maroon's my bad color.
Gotcha.
I think it's purple. So the protection component is nothing more than the moat around your castle. You don't build any wealth there, but it just sort of protects all your assets in life. Mm-hmm. But we want to make sure that if something were to occur to you, that no matter what happens, you're going to be okay. For say, example, if you get in a car accident and you get sued, well, as a doctor, we have a big X on our back, and so people are going to want to, go after the doctor.
Yeah,
so we
of course.
Want to make sure that the car insurance and the homeowners and the umbrella are properly structured. And then disability, of course, if you're to become disabled, do you think you want, maximum disability or minimum disability? The answer is always maximum.
Of course.
Even the same thing with life insurance. I had open heart surgery at age 45, and unexpected. I never was diagnosed with that situation.
Oh, wow.
Kind of scary. But when they wheel you into the operating room and you say goodbye to your wife, before they put you under, do you think she wanted maximum life insurance or minimum life insurance when she went in? Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's pretty obvious right in that moment, doesn't it?
It's always obvious that the maximum protection rule, the first rule, it's always an obvious maximum under pretty much every circumstance. The only reason people don't have maximum, for the most part, is the perceived cost of the premium. Mm-hmm. And so people don't always have maximum. So we always say, well, if you can, procure maximum with minimal no out-of-pocket costs, would there be any reason not to have it? And
right.
Of course, no. And so everybody would want maximum, and you have to have it. I mean, in times like this, you need to make sure your family is as protected as it should be.
Yeah, of course, especially if you have a family. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then the second rule is you need to be a diligent saver. Some orthodontists are great savers. Some orthodontists are not very good savers. But if you're never saving money, you always have to work. And so, and especially times like this, if you're not saving money and putting it aside, you're going to have a much more difficult time getting through times when there's no income.
Yeah, of course. So, I bet savings are going to go up dramatically in the next few years.
No, I think you're 100% right.
It's one thing to hear it, and it sounds it's never going to happen. I'll never actually need them.
No, I think you're 100% there, Richie. I think one of the things you asked before about what's going to happen after, mm-hmm. I think you will see more people saving money. And the rules makers don't necessarily want you to save money, right? They want.
There's a lot of pressure to spend, right? Because they
want you to spend. They want you to spend, and they want the money to be taxed. So, there may be some impact on the economy because we're saving more, but that's to the benefit of the consumer and us, not to the benefit of somebody else. Yeah. And so, savings is freedom. If you want to be successful financially, you got to set aside at least 15% of your annual gross income into the model, because there's things called eroding factors of life, things like taxes, inflation, market volatility. I mean, the market 2008, the market dropped 40% a year. It took many years for people to recover from that.
Absolutely.
And so, but that was a financial, we talked about before, the underlying economy today is a good economy. The underlying economy back then was Armageddon. It was the end.
Yeah.
Right? It was the end of the world. So
there was no end in sight. Almost.
There was no end.
I remember the forecast they were given right during it. They were very scary.
Yeah, really scary. I mean, big time. I mean, like we didn't think we were ever going to, get through that, right? And so, but when you're saving money, you have the opportunity to do that, because then that just feeds right into our third and final rule I'll talk about today is that liquidity. We want to have at least 6 months of liquid cash available for a number of reasons. One is to manage unforeseen events like now, right? Those who have cash on the sidelines have the ability to weather this storm. Those who don't have cash have to maybe go out and get a HELOC loan or go out and find other avenues for money, forbearance on your present mortgages, and just sort of managing cash flow on a daily basis today. But those people who do have cash on hand have the ability not only to sort of weather the storm presently, but if they have a lot of cash on hand, so many times we have clients say, well, Mart and Tim, I don't like having so much cash on hand. I'm only getting 0.01% of my savings or checking account. Yeah. It's just not doing anything for me. And we say, well, that's true from a rate of return standpoint, but we always say when a 0% rate of return hits opportunity, that will be your greatest rate of return.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? I mean, there's no greater time than now. I mean, we've had so many clients call us on the phone and say, hey, I've got X amount of dollars. Would this be a good time to deploy some money into the market now? Well, yeah, of course it would, right? I mean, when the market goes down, I mean, you don't know when it's going to, I mean, it may go further down, but it's taken a pretty good hit in the negative direction. So why not, take little tape money out of that 0% and move it into the market now and, see it recover. I mean, that happened in 2009. The market recovered beautifully the year after the market tanked. And so, typically markets, if you look at the studies on crises that occur all the way back into even to the 80s, there's a pretty straight up movement of the market right after a crash or a crisis. And so when you're in the market, at a lower rate, obviously you're going to reap the benefits of that. So liquidity is of absolute necessity in the model.
That makes sense. It makes sense, especially from that perspective. You have money to deploy right now. It is a great time. That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. So are those the main rules you wanted to cover?
Yeah, those are the three main ones. We don't really, I mean, retirement plans, I mean, people are only contributing in retirement plans. Another rule we all say about that is you never should put more than, half of your savings rate into a retirement plan. So you don't necessarily want to always max out your plan. And the reason why you don't always max out your plan is because you want to take some of the money, put it in the plan. You want to keep some of the money in liquid accounts because, it's very difficult. If you need access to cash, you can be penalized if you have to sort of tap into your retirement plan. Now, I know this new legislation for the coronavirus recently, there are some, they've relinquished those penalties now. So,
but that's so unusual. I mean, when is that going to happen again?
Yeah.
I mean,
no, it isn't.
No one could have forecasted that.
No, exactly. And we tell people that's sort of the place of last resort. But, but if you take the other half and move it in liquidity and other investments, and then you can access your cash without having to access your retirement plan. Another piece of that puzzle too, and that rule is that the Federal Reserve, as many people know, that just cut rates to zero. I mean, it's
that's crazy.
It's nuts, right? So they can't go any lower, and that has significant impacts on the entire economy from a standpoint of bank interest rates and obviously debt instruments, mortgages and such, and bonds. and other products, even such as annuity products, insurance products. And we're getting notified, gosh, a couple times a week, because all those products in the annuity world are being lowered, the payout rates in the future being lowered to the detriment of the consumer. And so that's unfortunate. So,
Yeah.
but usually I tell people, if you call your advisor, say, if you're 50, 55, 60, 65, over 50, that should probably be a discussion you have with your advisor. Say, hey, should I look to maybe consider moving some money over and protecting some of my assets, because you can use the retirement plan to protect some of those assets at a higher rate, because who knows how long it's going to take to get back up to the rates that we're presently at.
We've had low rates for quite a while, just in general, right? Nothing like this.
Oh, big time. Oh yeah, we've been very spoiled, like from a mortgage rate standpoint. And
yes,
I had a really low rate myself years ago, and I thought I'd never see rates that low, and here we are, they're lower than that. Back in the 80s, people forget, that I'm getting I'll get old now.
Well, my dad's told me about the crate when they first got a house. We lived out in Long Island, and it was like an insane amount of payment for this little house that we were living in. It wasn't a nice house. I remember it as a kid.
That's 100% right. I mean, I'll never forget back in the early 80s, my dad came home and he was happy as a clam that he got a single-digit interest rate.
Yeah,
it got like the 9.5.
For me, that's unbelievable. I can't.
Right.
I would literally have a house half the size of what I had now if I had to do that.
Right. Right.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. So economies change, right? And so, we have to be careful though with the economy now with the stimulus package. When you pump so much money into the economy today, that can be very inflationary in the future. So that's a concern, because obviously the money's going to be paid back in some capacity. And
yeah, because we're adding like a huge amount to the debt doing all this, and we don't know what the end is going to be. Where is it going to be next year? I mean,
no, it's a little disturbing, but they're sort of left having to do what they have to do. I mean, you just can't take the whole American workforce more or less off the table. It's just.
Oh, absolutely. I think it has to be done. I just hope we have a smart way to deal with it later, and we just.
Yeah, hopefully, we can grow out of it. Hopefully we can, we talked about get that V-shaped curve and, everybody get back to work and start doing what we do and being productive and manufacturing stuff and, getting back and doing what we're supposed to do so we can get this economy back on its feet as soon as possible.
Absolutely. And I think everyone in the world is kind of united right now. I think,
yes.
I foresee a sort of a boom, at least mentally. Everyone's going to, like you're saying, they're going to be out of the house, ready to work. Let's fix this.
I think so too. I really do. It's just how the American people are wired, right? I think we're just wired that way.
So I saw on your website, you talk about a micromanager versus a macro manager. Can you tell us the difference when you're talking about those two concepts?
Yeah, so that's a very important difference. Everybody who does their personal financial planning today, everybody on this call will have a team of advisors around them, such as an accountant, an attorney, a banker, maybe a real estate guy, an insurance specialist. They've got these team of advisors, we call them all micromanagers, and they are very, very well versed in what they do. They're very specialized in those particular things. But the problem is that there are sometimes people in the investment world may not agree with people in the accounting world, and there may be conflict, right?
Yeah.
Saying, well, maybe you should get this kind of mortgage, or maybe you should pay it off the mortgage this way, or maybe you should invest in the market this way. And there's all these opinions out there that get bantered around with really no economic verification. We all say, we believe in evidence-based orthodontics. Shouldn't believe in evidence-based financial planning.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
I just assume it is. That's kind of scary that you're saying it's not always.
It's not. It's really not. I mean, the model actually takes out the opinion out of the piece, because you can put it in the simulator. Say, all right, well, the accountant says this and the banker says that. You put both those inputs into the simulator and you measure which gives you a greater output, more efficiency, better rate of return, and so forth and so on. And you economically determine, not Mart and Tim, the model economically determines what's the best decision for that particular person, orthodontist. And so we sit sort of shoulder and shoulder with the client to make sure that all the micromanagers are working together, sort of like a board of directors.
Yeah.
It looks like you're in a board of directors room right there. Everybody's sitting around. They're not actually sitting around, but we're working on behalf of everybody to make sure everybody's on the same team.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love sports. Kind of the sports analogy being the owner of the football team, Chicago Bears, and then we're the head coach, and all the micromanagers. They're the offensive. They're the coordinators: offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, linebackers coach, receivers coach. They have all their own little ideas of how to win the game, but it's the head coach's job, the macro manager's job to sort of develop the game plan to win the game of finance for the client. So that's sort of how we look at it from a macro manager standpoint.
So you're ensuring that there's synergy with everyone, and everyone's keeping that increasing efficiency, making the right decisions. That's interesting. Are you working directly with these micromanagers, or just through the client, giving him or her advice, and then they're working?
Both. It depends on the client. Someone says, "Hey, can you talk to my accountant about this?" Or they'll say, "Hey, can we three-way call, or just go on webinar and I'll get on it, show them the model. This is what we're doing," and then and do it that way. Yeah.
Oh yeah, if they see the model, it would make a lot more sense to them. That's what they're trying to achieve, of course.
Yeah.
So how is that different than a traditional financial advisor?
Well, traditional financial advisors, they don't have a model like this, and so this is more of a holistic, we call it dynamic type of situation.
Yeah.
Most traditional financial planners, they're really good, but they think more in a linear fashion. What I mean by that is that they'll talk about retirement planning. They'll say, all right, put money in the retirement plan and watch it grow through time at rate of return, and that's your retirement plan. And then you got college planning. Let's plan for college, and that's another line item. And then we talk about estate planning and other types of investment planning. So they're all linear, but they're not tied together in an efficient manner. So they're doing things not as well as they possibly can, and that's just how they were trained. And it's not that it's bad. It's just not as efficient. So we typically don't. They're just not as good. They're just back to the car analogy. They're not getting as much horsepower out of the same car.
Yeah, organizing all of those micromanagers, I definitely could have a huge advantage.
Yeah.
So just tell us about how you deal with investments with your clients. What is your role? What are the actions you're taking?
Yeah, we are RAs. Our firm's an RA, which means we're fiduciaries. A very small percentage of fiduciaries, investment advisors across America. So we do think, hopefully everybody on the call is working with a fiduciary in some capacity. And we are not in the game of picking and selecting individual stocks. All of our investments are based on a philosophy. Mm-hmm. And when people have a philosophy of understanding how they want to move their money, then what happens is they're able to get through these tough times because they know the philosophy. Our philosophy is, Nobel Prize winning research, where we own the universe of every stock and bond in the world across all asset classes. And those asset classes are tilted just a little bit. So it's not indexing. People say, well, that's kind of indexing, Mark. Yeah. It's not indexing in that. It is passive investing. But what we do is, when you do index funds, you'll never be better than the index minus the fee. So indexing is an effective strategy. But what we do is academically, there's been lots of research done on these things called factors, where certain factors like small companies, value companies, momentum companies are growing fast, continue to grow fast. We tilt the portfolios, we structure the portfolios in a way towards those areas that we can hopefully squeeze out a little bit more rate of return. And so, and that's how all these asset allocations are determined. And so then, depending upon where people are, risk factors, they'll say, hey, I want to be really risky, I don't want to be risky at all, so forth and so on. And the nice thing is, when people know that's sort of where there's, they understand their philosophy there, they can stay in their seat during the market downturn. They don't get all. One of the biggest problems in investing is emotions. People get emotional, and when you know sort of the plan, you know that if the market goes down, your model's still going to be okay. That is very reassuring. Like in 2008, when 2008 hit, we didn't have one client calling us to want to bail on their investments.
That's huge, really. No one.
Yeah, not one. And my Tim, his office is next to a broker, and his phone is ringing off the hook.
Of course, that's what I would expect.
So, but because it's just investing is just a piece of the puzzle. It's just, as a piece of the model, and it's an important piece, but it's just something that you just want it to be rock solid. And when people invest, we all say, we don't want to take too much risk in your retirement plan. You want to take your risks in the outside investments, because you put money in the retirement plan because you want it to be there for retirement. And so you don't want to take a 30-40% hit in retirement plan. You want to take those hits in areas that aren't going to really cause you financial duress, but you want your retirement plan to continue growing.
Absolutely. It's nice that that's one piece of that larger model. I think that would make you feel a lot more comfortable. So you're really giving your clients a lot of financial literacy that they might not have had before, potentially.
Yeah, hopefully. I really hope so. I think we do try to be educators and let them understand how the personal finance works and how the rules makers influence so many things we do, and we want to let them understand velocitizing their money, because the problem with the orthodontist is that our time frame of life is much shorter than most people who get out of college and get to work. So we may not start making money till we're decent money, 35, 30, maybe 30, but usually around 35, and you're getting a mortgage, you're buying a practice, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And, you may work to 65. Your window of work is only about 30 years, unless you work longer. But so then you think about that, and if your retirement, more people, longevity risk is our biggest risk. And so if you live to 95 and you finish at 65, or you're not working as much, well, that 30 years of working money has to sort of work very hard and efficiently for you in your non-working years.
Yes, absolutely.
There's a lot of pressure on your money to perform, and the only way to make it perform is to be efficient about it. And you don't want to, be in the accumulation world. You want to be in the acceleration world.
Acceleration. That makes sense. So tell me who your ideal client would be for you.
Yeah, our ideal client is, obviously, we work in our niche is the dental world, orthodontists and dentists.
You said you're the only one in the country that's their niche, right?
Yeah, we're the only firm in the country that uses this model and has a dentist or orthodontist as an advisor on the team.
Yeah.
There's many other people who use the model. We did not invent this model, but probably about 70% of our client base is dentists. We do have some chiropractors and other health professionals, but the majority of our business model is through, working with clients, word of mouth referrals, and then we have a lot of small business owners. We have lots of people in the sales world and orthodontic sales world as clients, friends, neighbors. Say, hey, Mart and Tim you have this model thing. You have to see it. Let them see it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
30% of our other clients are, just normal consumers that want some help. And
so you will work with anyone. You're just
This model is not for health professionals. It's not for only orthodontists. It's for everybody.
Gotcha. All right, we still have a couple questions. So if you don't have the savings besides a HELOC, are there any other options you'd say to get you funds besides the PPP loan right now? Yeah.
So those would be you got the government loans, you got the HELOC loans. Other ways to sort of get some money would be if you have any life insurance. Some people have cash values in their whole life insurance. That's a decent place it's certainly a better place to get money than from your retirement plan. We've heard some people going out and actually getting 0% credit cards, those introductory rates.
It's 0% for 12 months or something.
And then when these loans come in, or when they get back in business, and then they just
pay it off, and there's no interest paid.
There's no
interest.
That's it's a zero. We're all the kinds of things with the bank. Certainly HELOC's a nice thing. People, if they can work.
I can't imagine how. It seems like it would take a long time to get a HELOC done right now. You can't even go into the bank.
That's the problem, right? Everybody's going after the SBA stuff. Everybody's.
Not to mention that they're going to be totally overwhelmed with SBA loans.
Yeah, they're scrambling. They are scrambling. And so another great place to really consider getting money is intrafamily loans. We love intrafamily loans where there's a lot of parents and grandparents who are sitting on those liquidity accounts where they've got no interest, growing in their account, maybe the normal less than 1%.
Yeah.
And say, mom or dad or grandparents, if they got 25 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand sitting on the sidelines, whatever it may be, say, hey, can you give me a loan? I'll pay you as your son or daughter 4 or 5% interest. And so that's a win-win,
that
right?
makes sense as long as they're going to pay it, and then
and you can make it on their terms, and you're helping out your parents or grandparents because they're not getting that much rate of return in their bank account, and you're winning because you're not having to go through the bank, because the bank, as you just said, Richie, they're crazy overwhelmed. So an intra-family loans is a really nice place to do it. Also, from a cash flow standpoint, you certainly got to call all your vendors. You got to say, hey, listen, can we put a hold on the supply payments, and
that's the other way to deal with it. Just reduce the
Itero machines, CBCTs, all those things. Can you just hold off on the loan, and we'll put it on the back end of the loan, or even I'm getting notifications of mortgages. You can do it with your mortgage. Just to sort of free up some cash flow during this time.
And people are very, very willing to do that, because we're doing a little bit for our clients, just media buying wise. We're in these 2-3 year contracts with a magazine, and they usually won't budge. And right now they're like, yeah, sure. I'm like, oh, great. Because we're still it doesn't make any difference to us. We still want the ads, just give us a break for a couple months.
No, absolutely. And I even heard from one of our clients that they said Comcast, the cable company, they're giving people breaks on their fees. I'm like, oh.
Man, when Comcast is playing ball, it's serious.
Exactly. Right.
Let's see. Well, if anyone has any questions, now's a great time. We have a couple more. How would someone know when it may be time to seek help a financial advisor? Is there a trigger event, or at all times they should find one?
The time is, as soon as possible, because in order to get that first rule, that maximum protection. So if people don't have a lot of money, like when you're young and a student and have student loan debt and all these other things, your most valuable asset are your hands and your eyes and your back and your brain, right? So you need to protect that from a disability standpoint to its fullest extent. And so that's a good financial advisor is one that can sort of help you work through all the different products, because there's quite a few different products out there that there's good ones and there's bad ones, just like anything in life. And so, and typically we sign the younger kids who, they're not sure they need an advisor or not. Some of our best clients are our younger clients who had no money at the beginning.
Yeah.
We don't let them make the missteps that some of the people, when they get in their 50s and 60s, they say, oh, I wish I wouldn't have done that type of thing. So younger kids, even though they don't have any money, since that curve of life is shorter for orthodontists, they can get on the faster curve quicker when they're younger.
Oh, that makes sense. Even just helping them not make bad decisions that are going to have a long-term effect.
There you go.
So are there any ways you can kind of baby step into investing if you haven't started yet, or what would you say the little beginning steps would be?
Yeah. So the steps would be, when we do the baby steps, we just sort of follow those rules, right? And so you go the first 3, and then we move into the investments. And then we'll move money, into the structured portfolios if people want stocks and bonds, and if they want to set up the retirement plan, we do the same thing there. We have a lot of clients who do like to invest themselves. They'll go out and do trading on E-Trade, and that's totally fine. We have no problem with that.
Oh, that's cool.
And so, but they just have to do that themselves. Mm-hmm. And so they would just pull money out of their own account, put it into their own account, and do what they want to do. Other places of some interesting alternative investments that are going on now is, some people on this call may have heard of cryptocurrencies or Bitcoin, the blockchain. There's quite a bit of money moving into that world. We don't do that, but
that stuff scares me personally. Yeah. And I feel I'm pretty risk tolerant, but
well, so it's kind of funny what you said, because on our model, you see even on the model at the very bottom box, the bottom level is where that goes. That's the riskiest level. Yeah. And that's where the Bitcoin and those things go, because it's crazy volatile, and that's why you really wouldn't want to go down into that arena until all those other things up above are sort of taken care of from a liquidity standpoint and cash standpoint.
Oh, that makes sense. How are traditional financial advisors paid? How are you paid? Is there a difference? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, there's a multitude of ways people are paid, and there's a lot of misunderstanding about that whole piece of the puzzle. There are fee-only advisors where, they just charge you a fee, percentage of, they'll say 5,000 a year, 10,000 a year, 20,000 a year, whatever it may be.
Oh,
And
just
that,
like a flat fee just for their
a
services?
flat fee, and they don't receive any fees off the investments,
Mm-hmm.
or fees off of any of insurance products. That's just sort of a fee-only planner.
Yeah.
And we're of the belief, we do have a one-time planning fee ourselves, of our fee is $2,950, and then half of that fee goes to a charity of your choice. So we have a big charitable initiative within our
Oh,
company
wow. Yeah. Okay.
that a significant portion. We have some really neat charitable strategies for retirement that we like to embed if possible. So we get paid that way, but we also do get paid through, and we are, as I said, we're registered investment advisors, so we're fiduciaries. And so, so if people put investment monies with us, we do keep our fees very low, because I have a hard time looking at my friends in the face if I don't keep things low for them. At these
Oh, yeah, you're working probably with a lot of your friends.
all these guys, yes, I'm like, but we do have the very low fees, so we do get compensated on investment products like that, because obviously our one-time fee is not a fee that is going to sustain anybody. That's just a commitment fee for us.
Of course,
people get
yeah.
engaged in the process. And then there are some insurance products that we get compensated on too, whether it's disability insurance, life insurance, and some annuity products.
Oh, that makes sense. So it's a traditional way. Yep.
So because our premise on that fee structure is that if you need everybody has all these products out there. So if you need the products anyway, let the company or the fee and the investment sort of pay that, so to say, not pull it out of your pocket. Because
Yeah.
if you need this products anyway, somebody's going to, whether you're a fee only advisor or not, somebody's going to get that commission or something, or fee down the road from another avenue. So you're kind of double paying in a way.
Yeah, I never considered
why don't we just keep the fee in your pocket and then build a model without that? This is personal preference. People have some very strong opinions about that. That's just how we work. And, some people love it, and some people say, we prefer fee only. Okay.
Yeah. To me, the fee is less important than getting the good advice, because that's just going to affect you for your whole life, right?
Well, right. Well, so, if you can double your incomes, like I said, the average dentist takes about a 50% pay cut in retirement. If you can go full income replacement with no pay cut, you're doubling your income in retirement. I mean, that fee is worth millions, right? And that, people, that's millions and millions of dollars of wealth that gets created just by being more efficient.
Yeah, we say the same thing when we're talking to a potential client. We're not known to be the cheapest people around, but what is the return on investment? If I double your gross income for the practice, what is that worth to you?
Yeah. And in your line of business, the faster you guys get on that rate, I mean, that's just an incredible. We always love practice management people, marketing people, because without you guys to sort of drive the income in the practice, there's nothing we can do. I mean, if the practice is not growing and making money, as a financial advisor, the home base is the business, and you guys and the advisors to help those businesses grow. And if those practices aren't growing, there's not a whole lot we can do.
Yeah, cash flow seems to be the most important factor there, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, big time.
All right, so if someone who's watching you wants to get in contact and have a discussion, what should they do? What's the next step?
Yeah, easiest way is direct email. I got the funky name, Mart, M-A-R-T, at macro, M-A-C-R-O -wealth.com. That's my email. Our website is yourretirementsmile.com. That's our book. So if you want to take a look at our book's on that site.
Cool.
And there's an assessment. There's a retirement assessment on there that people can sort of say, hey, how am I doing? Gives you a little number of your rating type of thing, it takes a couple minutes to do. It's kind of fun. And another avenue is our website, www.macro-wealth.com.
Perfect. And we'll put all that on the recap so they can click right to you.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. Some great advice. I certainly learned a lot. And
I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Let's talk to you soon.
Cheers.